Right, hello there. Well, just before the video starts, I just want to apologise for the picture within picture. I had a lot of troubles doing this video for some reason, so apologies for not full screen, but it's going to be a picture within picture video. Right, so here we are at BC Helicopters, and I had a request to fly the little Cabri down to Victoria. So wasn't a route I knew because it's the opposite direction to the mountains, but I turned on the photo scenery I'd done and then made the overlays for the roads and everything as should be, and let X-Plane go full detail on the trees and that. And the main reason being is that when you're up in the mountains, the photo scenery looks fantastic because it's mainly snow and that. But when you're flying over this sort of terrain, you really do want the houses and the landmarks and everything else to show up. So I took the time and made the overlays this time for this run down to Victoria. Now, not sure how long it's going to take in the Cabri. It looks to be a reasonable distance. So I'll probably break it into two parts. Taking off here from the BC Helicopters, and we'll have a look round here, and then head down to Victoria and see how it goes from there. So let's have a look. So as usual with the Cabri, it looks like they've put us on the little yellow pad. Just as it comes up, it's a bit different to other helicopters because you've got to apply a little bit of right pedal, bit of forward stick, because probably my trims are slightly off, but so you can see now the X-Plane scenery's on. It's got a good ground detail there and photo mesh and that, and I'll call up the X-Plane map so we can see where we're going. It's a great program. I normally run it on a separate screen, but I've got one screen running today, so let's have a look. So that's where we are, and there's Victoria there, so we're heading in the wrong direction, of course. Should have looked it up before we started. Let's drop that over there, down. Zoom in a bit. And so now I know the Cabri does have a little autopilot unit built in, but I've never played around with it, so I don't actually know how that works. So I'll use the little map down the bottom here, and I can see I've got to head roughly in that direction. Put some forward trim on so I don't have to keep holding the joystick there, and we'll see what speed we can build up. It's gradually building, gaining some height. So it looks like it downloaded some reasonable textures to obviously farming area, and the difference between the fields and the greener areas is showing up quite well. When I ran it just in photo texture mode, it looked pretty boring and pretty plain here, the opposite to what I've been saying with the mountain stuff we've been doing. Once you get low down with a helicopter, it's nice to see the trees and the buildings and other things. I'm not sure exactly how accurate the trees are going to be in comparison to the photographic ones, but at least they're upright and give you an idea of the height that you're travelling. So we're doing a fair old bit of speed here in the Cabri. It's holding its own. I'm not sure how long it will take to get to Victoria, but this part looks pretty bleak and mainly farmland. It's not an area I know at all, so you know, if I make the wrong comments or it's not actually like that, by all means put in the comments box that it's a beautiful area full of industrial units and everything else, but I very much doubt it somehow. And I'm also concentrating a lot more on the tail, on the slip meter, trying to make sure it flies in a straight line. Don't want to start getting lazy and end up flying sideways and not worrying about which direction the tail's facing. So we're doing quite well here. We're heading over a place called Benderfield Linden Park, wherever that is. So looks like they've got a small airfield there on the right hand side as well. And I'll try and increase some height and get a more overall view in a minute. Let's just zoom out on the map, see how we're doing. Are we generally heading in the right direction? So we need to do a bit more right. So while we're on this flight, I thought I'd mess around with, we've got some low cloud and reasonable scenery, and as we all know, we can change our colour scenery, and the one that I wish was a button you just press, the high altitude one there, gives it a lovely blue, which should be standard I think, and then let you change it to the mucky colours afterwards. So here we go. And not bad. I mean, I don't run any software yet for clouds in the distance, as it were, or weather setups. It's something because I fly a lot in VR. I don't want anything to start slowing down the frame rate, so it's not something I've experimented with. But to me, that's quite a natural view, and it isn't bad for, you know, out the box X-plane. So let's see, dropped off a bit forward speed here, so we've got room to drop the nose, add a bit more collective on to pick the speed up, and get the map back, see how we're doing. So we need to go a bit more left, because any sensible pilot would have actually looked up the direction to head in before they took off, but I didn't have much time today, so I just wanted to try and get this done and then posted for the chap that asked me to do it. The chap that asked me to do it sent me some nice pictures. He actually had been to meet the pilots down at BC Helicopters and sent me some pictures from the actual place on Facebook, which was really nice of him. And he's met the pilots, and Matt and Misha, and then just mentioned it'd be nice to do a flight from BC Helicopters to Victoria. So don't actually know his home address in Victoria, but we'll have a look at Victoria anyway. It's somewhere that I'd not been, so why not spend half an hour just exploring your way around. I think that's one of the good things in X-plane. Even, you know, I live in the UK, and the South Downs is my natural area where I go to fly at Shoreham and places like that, and I know it very well, not only by flying but also driving around the area. But one of the great things in X-plane is, of course, you can pick a place. You can go to Wales, you can go to Scotland, you can go somewhere else, and with the scenery packages we've got now, you know, virtually fly the coastline and enjoy the scenery as if you were on holiday there. I know we're looking to make a move in the future in downsizing, as you do when you retire here in the UK, and most of the areas we've looked at for moving to, I've spent ages flying around in X-plane. I'm not going to pick our house by X-plane and where it is, but just getting a general feeling of the area and what's there. It really is quite amazing what it can do. So just coming up here over the crossroads, heading towards the coast by the look of it, and then we'll be going over the coast. Let's see if we can find the name of that landmass or island. So we're going to be going across Lopez Island. Again, not one I'd heard of. And then we'll do a right and then head towards Victoria, which no doubt is a much more built up area, I'm sure. Flying here, looking down and looking at the autogen scenery there, yeah, it really is getting very, very good. You do wonder where we're going to be in 2 years' time with VR and the scenery packages and everything. You know, X-Plane to me at the moment certainly is leading the way. I seem to have stopped flying DCS recently. I was really just flying it for the Huey. It was such a great helicopter to fly. But I do find that the Bell 412 is, apart from the thump of the blades, actually a nicer helicopter to fly in the simulator world. And we've got Nimbus doing the Huey for X-Planes, so I think a lot of us are waiting for that to come along and really see how good a modelling they've done of that. So again, little helicopter. Maybe we should have done this in the Jet Ranger or the 412, and we'd have got there a lot quicker, I'm sure. But you see the shadows going by. There's the nighttime view, or not quite nighttime, there we go. And we reverse that back. Back to a sunnier day. Let's call our map back up. An idea how far we are. So it looks like if we cross that larger landmass just to our right, Victoria is just behind it. And at least we're up at some reasonable height to clear that. If we dump the map again, and we can also go, I'm doing this just for anyone who's into X-Plane knows it anyway, but we can also customize our weather and maps. So a lovely completely blue sky there, and we can also change the viewing distance. So our visibility distance was quite low there, and if I set that up reasonably high, we can see right into the distance. Let's leave it on a beautiful clear day. Good viewing distance. And we'll zoom in here, just find out what this. So this is Lopez Island, and we're approaching Sea Acre, which is the point we're going to start to cross. Trying to keep the forward speed on all the time. The landscapes in this part of the world are truly breathtaking. The only downside to it is if you suffer with a cold, which I tend to do, I think I'd spend most of my time indoors, not going out. But if you're the outdoor type and you enjoy trekking, skiing, those type of things, this area is obviously made for it. Now we can see here that we've got a lake in the middle coming up, and on my monitor I'm flying this on the flat screen. This is the sort of time when I look at the trees and I suddenly think, well, they don't look quite that good yet. You look at the trees in is it called Macmell Fisheries or something like that, where they did some custom design trees that are absolutely brilliant, but I suppose the amount of memory and processor time they take up to make them look that good is going to have a heavy effect on this sort of larger landscape. But I suppose it's good to be thinking I'm moaning about the trees and the quality of the trees when, well, or everything else that X-Plane can do. And as I said, being a heli pilot, I'm very much just get in it and fly somewhere. Navigation's never been my thing. When I did have my helicopter lessons, I always remember the guy that taught me, who said it was much easier to follow the motorway signs and read the signs than it was to bother with the navigation. But having said that, he knew his area very well, so I'm sure he didn't need to in the first place anyway. I suppose it is one of the advantages. We can always stop somewhere above a motorway or a large junction, and if need be have a look to see where we're going if all else fails. Slightly more difficult in a plane. So that was called Cascade Lake. My little map tells me down on the bottom there. You can see it's always just slightly behind at the moment. It's pushing the limits even of my PC. I mean, my PC's overclocked to 4.7. It's got a 1080 graphics card in it, and even then I have to sort of do lots of tricks to make X-Plane run smoothly with VR and all these other bits switched on. We can only hope that the new X-Plane engine, when it comes out, is less sort of system dependent and will actually take some of the resources away so that we can use these other programs without it having too much of an effect. So our little map down the bottom there tells us this is Orcas Island, heading towards West Sound, which is the little bay in front. And then once we get over that island in front of us, we're bear slightly left and head towards Victoria. I'm starting to look at the fuel gauge as well now. I'm sure we've got plenty there, but just suddenly realised it's one of the things why I probably wouldn't make a great full-time helicopter pilot. I didn't even look at the fuel gauge before we took off to see what we had, so but it's not exactly fuel hungry, this helicopter. So just gonna slightly bear left here. We zoom in a bit on our map. And it looks like we've got Walden Island over on our right, and we're heading towards San Juan Island. So this little mass here is Shore Island. What you can say is it's a place with an awful lot of trees. Now I've just noticed that top right view there in the distance looks like we've got a aircraft carrier or something coming along there. That might be in the main strait there. So let's see, let's get some speed on. Let's go and have a look at that while we're on our way. Looks like we're crossing a small airfield here. And that's on San Juan Island. Again, hopefully pronounced it right. See if we can zoom in. And that was Friday Harbour Airport. It is quite amazing. Sometimes I sit here still and think back to my early computer days. I started with a Commodore 64 and mainly racing car simulators early days. I was always simulator mad on pole position for the Atari and various other things, and got into car simulators for many years and took it very seriously when I was working, and let's say money wasn't quite such an object. The simulator setup I had for iRacing was just fantastic, and it took me a long while. I managed to get an A license in iRacing across a number of different car grades. They do everything from skippy racing, as they call it, or skip barber racing, and I was always a Porsche fanatic, so I took mainly part in the Porsche Cups and things like that. And again, a bit like the flight sim community, the iRacing community, in fact, let me step back a bit. First of all, it was Forza with the Xbox, with just a single Xbox. And then I found out that you could link 3 Xbox 360s together and have triple screen. So the first thing I had was a 3 Xbox system running Forza on 3 screens using the Xbox. Then decided to move over to a games PC or gaming PC and ran 3 screens, and the Xbox community is spoilt. You get spoilers come along, you and your group might be taking it seriously, and you'll get people coming on and driving the wrong way round and spoiling it. One of the advantages or disadvantages of iRacing when you take it up is you pay a subscription, and because of that, not only is it very well run, and they manage to go and laser scan all these fantastic tracks and spend a lot of time on the car modelling, you also get serious racers, people that are interested in clean racing. And so again, the ability to be able to talk online to the other drivers, community chats, things like that on iRacing, very similar to the X-Plane, I'm going to say groups, and I did that for many years, and was fascinated by car physics and geometry. And one of the things in iRacing is that you have endless possibilities of tweaking tyres, camber angles, spring loadings, you name it, gearing, and that's really what keeps you going. And you'd spend most of the week qualifying for one race at the weekend, and there'd be championships and so on. So iRacing was a very big thing. And then when my dystonia increased and I was sort of starting to lose a bit of muscle control, half a second a lap makes a big difference, and it was very frustrating racing, not to the level that I had been before. And so I eventually, my other hobbies had always been radio control helicopters or anything helicopter wise, and of course that had come to an end when dystonia, this muscle disorder, came along. And so I took to flight simulators first of all, and tried DCS because of the Huey. I've always been a Huey fan. Pardon me. And anyone who loves Huey's got to read a book called Chicken Hawk. It's the best book in the world about Vietnam and training Huey pilots. It's brilliant. So over the recent 6 months or so, found myself getting deeper and deeper into X-Plane and learning more and more about it and the community, and took to making videos. I'd always made the racing videos, and obviously this seems second nature, and I wanted to continue on as long as I can doing these type of things. What is a lot slower though in these smaller helicopters, how long it takes to get there. I mean, this carrier, I know he's going at steamer rates as well, but maybe this detour to have a look at this carrier, maybe when I do the editing I'll do a bit of fast forward. In fact, before we do that, I'll actually do that anyway. So we jump out the screen. Let's try timestamp forward. So quickly there, jumped up to 16. As soon as you go over 16, you're back to normal. So let's drop it down. Hopefully they aren't going to launch an attack on us. Kill off a little bit of the forward speed. Bit of a bank to the left. Then bring it back right. Obviously sometimes if you're approaching something too fast and you don't just want to drop the collective and come in doing an S pattern, banking on each side, the banking will slow the helicopter down, and Gives you a little bit more control over the approach to it. Let's drop the corrective a bit. Keep the nose down. Only now have I dropped the collective. Probably dropping a bit too quick there. But look at the detail now, the sort of thing we're getting on these ships and that. Got a helicopter flying by the side. Are we going to bother landing on it? Oh, I'm tempted. I have landed on one of these carriers before in X-Plane, and it took me quite a while to match the speed, but it was in a slightly bigger helicopter than this with a bit more power, and it'll probably be the first time that I'm going to take it, it's the US Navy has seen a tiny red Cabri helicopter on its decks. Sorry about the bobbing up and down. I'm concentrating quite hard at the moment, amazingly. I'm just trying to keep my hand movements. Trying to just match the speed. Now we're going up slightly, so I need to drop the collective some more. One of the things on carrier landings, you've got to commit yourself of going in with a little bit of forward speed on. I haven't found myself in the luxury position of being able to come in from behind the carrier and land smoothly without some form of forward speed going on. Look at the animation there, it's brilliant, isn't it? Oh, a bit of a wobble there at the end, but there we are. Well, I made it. Let's jump F4 or shift F4 for me, just to prove we're down. And zoom back in. In fact, it might be faster staying on the ship here than actually trying to fly the Victoria. Right, so let's get on it, back on our way to Victoria. Let's pick some speed up and Whoa, bit of a running takeoff there. Thanks for the ride, chaps. So I wonder where we've ended up while we've been on there. So we've got, they gave us a good ride. I've got to turn around and go back. And we do a bit of time jumping again. Oh, I keep forgetting we have to come out of the map to the main screen. Let's drop some height. And we're coming in at Beacon Hill Park. A few higher buildings started to appear. And then when we come around the top here, it looks like the place is called James Bay. And as we come round to the right, I would have guessed there would have been a place called Fisherman's Wharf, but it's called Fisherman's Wharf Park. And again, I'm not sure how truly representative X-Plane has done the land mass here, the number of buildings, the number of tall buildings, but If we zoom out, we can see whereabouts we are. Looks like that bridge is called Bay Street. And I'm going to head to what sounds like the best place to finish this run, Dead Man's Island. It's got underneath it number 2. And looks like we've got a reasonable flat area. Let's go to land over there. Just lost a bit of forward speed there while I was playing around. So get the descent rate down to about 200-300 feet a minute. Slightly longer approach. And I'm trying to concentrate much more on keeping the helicopter in a straight line. The last few flights I've been doing, I tend to use that bit of string in the middle, and wonderful though it is, it's not actually where you're flying in a straight line. The straight line is more towards where the avitab would be and slightly, well, dead ahead. But one of the things that bit of string does, it tends to make you fly slightly askew, thinking that that's where you're going to aim it, and that's not the case. So there we come. Oh, not too bad. Bit sideways on now, and there we go. Hopefully you enjoy that. Bit longer than we expected, and good to see the aircraft carrier. I wasn't expecting that on the way. So anyone that has taken the time to watch, it's not a part of our usual series of films, but I hope you enjoyed it and have a really good week.